I'm Ben Matson.
And I'm Cherie Gorsuch.
And we're from WFG National Title. Title insurance is the product, and escrow is the service that's provided by your escrow officer. The public is going to interact with the escrow officer over the phone or email. The title officer side is really someone that the escrow officer communicates with. In some states, they're completely separate. Like you go to one company for the title insurance and one for the escrow, for example. And that's why there's some confusion, because some people have bought or sold houses in other states where there might be an attorney that handles it on one side, or there might be just an escrow company that they've dealt with, not realizing that there was a separate title insurance company. In Oregon and Washington, they're combined into one. So our offices are now, the public cannot just walk in and out freely. There's only signings or meetings by appointment. In the signing room, we have plexiglass set up, and then masks, gloves, all of that. We're also limiting that only the people be there that are actually signing the documents. After a signing, everything gets wiped down. They take the pens with them. We feel like it's really been a benefit to our clients, our employees, keeping everyone as safe as possible. Yeah. We had a company do floor plans for all of our offices that they came through and did an overlay of how many people can be in our space. We can actually share with them, here are the exact floor plan on it, and this does abide by the rules that the state has put in place, or the government.
We stress over and over and over and over again to not accept wiring instructions over email, to go over everything verbally over the phone. But if somebody responds to an email, from the hacker to send a wire,
when they see an email that looks like it's coming from the person they've been emailing with, it's understandable why they would say, oh my gosh, I need to jump on this. Everything's a rush. And so they do things thinking they're helping out. And
right.
What we're trying to tell people is to slow down, call to verify, call a trusted number, err on the side of caution, because everyone is at risk of being hacked. The criminals are very sophisticated now. I mean, it looks identical to an email that an escrow officer would send.
So it needs to be a verbal conversation with every single customer purchasing a home. You want to make sure you're buying the right property. There are multiple owners that own multiple pieces of property on one street, and I've come to a transaction where the sales agreement didn't have the tax account number, or any additional information that describes the property, and the title report was on the wrong property, but it was the same owner. And we get towards the end, and the seller, because I go through the map, and the seller goes, that's not the right lot.
The other thing as a seller you want to look at is it'll say whether or not your taxes have been paid, your property taxes. It'll also say if you have a mortgage or maybe a second, like a home equity line of credit.
Yep.
You just want to look and make sure that
they're on the title report.
All of those things will need to be cleared, and that's what the escrow's process is.
That's why when we send out the seller information sheet at the beginning of the transaction, it's so important that we get those back, because I compare. I look at every single one. I look at their seller information sheet and I look at the title report.
CC&Rs will show up. Easements and stuff, maybe they weren't aware that there was a driveway easement and the neighbor next door can use their driveway as much as they want, or who takes care of that. And rest assured too, that's what escrow's job is, to make sure all of the proper items are cleared. But it's just a good practice to do, to look and just be familiar with what am I getting into, what am I buying that I didn't know about.
And a lot of buyers, they get a little concerned or a little, panicky when they see, a line of credit on the house that, would be $1 million. Well, that doesn't mean the clients owe $1 million on the property. It most likely is at zero, and so that's a lot of buyers call about that. Are they going to have to come in with funds to close? The recorded trust deed amount on the title report is not what's owed on the property.
Yeah, because at some point it could have been 200 acres that now has parceled its way down to a 1 acre, parcel, and so there's lots of different legal descriptions and changes over the last, 50 years. We just want to make sure all of that was done correctly. People will sign unrecorded deeds of trust and things that are, it's like, oh, it wasn't even recorded. How are we going to figure this out? But there's lots of little hiccups that can show up. Power of attorney fraud is another big thing, especially when you're working with the elderly. Kind of elder abuse along with power of attorneys, and that the person that they have power of attorney for also realizes what is happening. That's another one where it comes up where we're having to ask some uncomfortable questions sometimes, but it's all in a due diligence so that we make sure that the right person and that everyone knows what's happening with the property, and it's being done by the proper person. Everyone is familiar with auto insurance. They pay a monthly premium so that if in the future they get into an accident, they are covered. Title insurance works exactly the opposite way. So it's just paid one time, and you have that for the life of as long as you own the home. But it covers you from anything that has happened in the past. So any previous owners, any liens, judgments, anything from previous people. It covers you from all of those sort of scenarios. So that's kind of a way that I describe title insurance so that people go, oh, okay, it kind of makes more sense when you think of it that way.
One of our most common questions is signing and closing. What's the difference? And we explain to them, signing is signing your papers. Closing is when we record and disperse. Well, we would love for every transaction for a buyer to sign before the closing, but it's just not like that these days. Most transactions, the lenders provide the loan documents either the night before or the early morning of the day. The transaction closes and then the buyer comes in, signs, and we close the transaction. Why that's hard is that, the buyers have to be flexible with their schedule on the day of closing. The funds, if they want to bring in a cashier's check, have to be brought in the day before, the business day before, otherwise they need to send a wire that morning. And certain counties close early on certain days, so you run against the clock on recording.